Hello everyone, I'm going to be starting a multi-part series on my channel that's going to be going over ways that you can sort of win and gain an upper hand in arguments and debates, which is something that's pretty relevant in just about everyone's lives. I mean, at some point in your life you will find yourself in a quarrel or a disagreement with someone else, and you may be the type of person that feels the a need to state your opinions and maybe try and convince others of your opinions. So, basically, I'm going to be giving you some tips and pointers into proper argumentative tactics and ways that you can convince an audience or convince a person you are debating with himself. So, firstly, in the first episode, I will be talking about understanding your opponent. Now, this is a very general topic, but basically, all arguments, debates, in my opinion, come down to an understanding of your opponent, understanding their points, and being able to manipulate, find weaknesses, and fight back by exploiting those weaknesses. Now, all arguments will usually be over, sort of a point or a position that two opposing parties have. Now, firstly, what you want to do is you want to listen actively to what your opponent is saying. Listening is just as important in talking as talking in an argument. You need to be able to have a 100% understanding of what your opponent is saying. For example, if your opponent is saying, say, I think video games are the reason that there are school shootings. That's just a completely random example. If someone says that, you need to be able to interpret that while thinking of a rebuke statement in your mind. So it's important to always be actively listening. That is extremely important in any argument. Now, excuse me, I'm using argument as a very blanket statement. In saying argument, I mean a very formal, educated debate. I don't mean you're fighting with your mom or your friend, extremely emotional. I'm saying, if you're debating a point factually. But that's another thing that is sort of under this category. Your opponent will probably be responding extremely emotionally. For example, a current case that's been going on now is some school shootings, like the one in Newtown, Connecticut, have been popping up. So, for example, your opponent might have had a friend who was in that shooting and was killed, and as tragic as that may be, the person will probably issue a strictly emotional response, saying oh, I am so aggravated. They will issue a response that is so emotionally it's so affected by their emotions that they will have extreme weaknesses in the point that they're making. And if you're listening actively, you will be able to easily pick apart that and be able to counter them while being able to present your point in a strictly factual way. And in an argument, facts conquer emotions always. And that is something very important. You do not, if you're having a factual debate, you want to avoid emotion at all costs unless you are appealing to an audience. But we'll get into a further episode. This is very brief overview of sort of, just you have to actively listen so that you will be able to pick apart the opponent's statements and use them to your own effect. So listening is just as important as speaking objectively in an argument. So definitely, starting off, listen actively, understand 100% what your opponent is saying. And a very quick tip that I'm going to give you in this episode, because I don't want to just give you a very blanket, listen actively, that'll make you win all your arguments. Quick tip: if your opponent issues an extremely emotional response, ask them to clarify their statement. Ask them to repeat the statement, because if you have them repeat the statement, they will probably repeat it in a very poor way, and this will really mess up their flow. Because if they're talking completely emotionally, they're going to be, oh, blah, 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 I'm so mad, I'm so angry, I'm upset about this, and that's causing this. And you say, oh, clarify that, repeat that to me. It will disrupt their argumentative flow, and then you will be in the position to issue a perfect counterattack. So, just a quick tip: ask people to clarify if you don't understand 100%. It's really useful, and you'll be able to use it to your advantage when you're issuing these counterattacks. So, that is the first episode of this series. I'm going to be doing tons more of these, that will be getting into really gritty details of specific tactics that you can use, like statements, words, things to pick out that will issue certain triggers that you'll be able to use. So, we'll be getting into fallacies, all tons of great stuff. So, if you enjoyed this, you can subscribe to my channel so that you'll be, up to date with all those new videos, and I will see you soon.